I mean, it didn't seem like it'd be this hard. I remember even talking to the incoming Democratic leader before I was even Speaker about ways that we could work together on a debt ceiling. Hakeem told me he was going to follow the president's lead. I went down to meet with the president right after becoming Speaker, as you all know, on February 1st. I said, let's sit down, let's work together. The Democrats, they could have lifted the debt ceiling prior to me becoming Speaker. They knew the outcome of the election already. They knew we were taking power. They passed an omnibus bill, but they decided not to do the rising of the debt ceiling, even though they thought people should just raise it cleanly. Speaking with the president, I told him two things. We'll not raise taxes. Why? Because we got more revenue coming in to our coffers at any time in American history. The problem is the Democrats had been in power and they increased the amount of spending to the highest level we've ever had at any time in American history, especially to GDP. And now we have the highest debt at any time to American history. So I just think it's common sense, it's reasonable and it's rational that we spend less next year than we spend this year. Every household would do this. We have money that sits out there, COVID, that's been appropriate that hasn't been used. We now know the damage that the Democrats have done in the majority when they spent that extra $6 trillion. It brought us inflation, harming every single family, made us more dependent upon China. It created 3 of the largest 4 bank failures in American history in the last couple months. We cannot continue down this path. But the president waited 97 days, not even to talk to me. He could have spoken to me and said we were wrong on other angles, but he didn't. And now we're 8 days away from Biden having a default. I don't want that to happen. That's why the Republicans in the House in April lifted the debt ceiling with common sense, sensible things. They're pulling the COVID money back, work requirements, they let people go back to work, help our supply chain, make us less dependent on China, and more importantly, people working, then they're paying into Social Security and Medicare, making those 2 entities stronger. And then making us stronger in our energy field where we're cutting the red tape, where we could build things in America again, putting people back to work. That's reasonable, that's rational.
But the White House says they're trying to meet you halfway. So, I mean, at this stage of the game, since you are at loggerheads, what is the off-ramp here?
Look, the off-ramp here is to solve the problem, to spend less than we spent last year. That's not that difficult. They still want to spend more. You cannot do that. No household would do that. Look, I explained this before.
Their plan is unreasonable.
Well, they don't have a plan. They never passed anything. So, and you can't spend more money the next year than you spent this year. Look, I've explained this before. A debt ceiling, so the American people understand, is having a credit card. You raised and you hit the limit. So year after year, you just kept raising the limit. So you're paying more interest. So now in America, 17 cents out of every dollar that comes in just goes to interest. But now you owe so much on your credit card. You have to pay it. But you owe more than you make in the entire year. So now for America, we owe more on our debt than our whole economy is worth, 20% more. So should you just raise the debt limit, or should you literally think, let's eliminate some waste?
Your negotiators yesterday said that the concession Democrats were getting was to raise the debt ceiling. So within the room there, what concession are you willing to give in order to save the economy?
I'm willing to make America stronger, to curb inflation, less dependency on China, and spend less than we spent the year before. Because you know what, when we're elected, the power is loaned to us from the American public. Who's representing them? It's not my responsibility to represent the socialist wing of the Democratic Party. If the Democrat socialist wing and Bernie Sanders cared so much, they would have passed the bill. They would have done something on the border. It is not my fault they won't take action. It is not my fault that the president would not meet with me for 97 days. I'm sorry, but the moment he was willing to meet with me, I've been there each and every day. And I firmly believe we will get and solve this problem.
Mr. Speaker, how much time will you give your conference to read the debt ceiling bill once an agreement is reached?
72 hours.
Mr. Speaker, can I get clarity on that?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you, Jack Riffield. Could I ask you a couple questions on top of my colleague Melina from our sister outlet, NTD?
Okay, ask your question.
Okay. So, are you afraid that voters will blame Republicans for this crisis and any possible default? And what gives you hope that a deal can still be reached?
Well, first of all, I don't think there'll be a default, and I don't see how you would blame Republicans. If there's any blame Republicans have, we're the only ones who acted. So if the American public didn't want if they get rewarded for not taking an action and ignoring a problem, the Democrats are going to win that award every day. They did that with Title 42 on the border. They've done that with inflation. They lied to us and told us it was transitory. They did that with the debt ceiling. They told us we shouldn't talk. So I'm sorry. If you want to blame Republicans for solving problems, we'll take that blame.